Hey, I'm Brooks Higginbotham, LCSW, and this is behavioral warning signs for adolescents with substance use disorder. So there are different behavioral warning signs that adolescents can display when they're starting to engage in substance use. Some of these things can be very subtle, and some of the feedback that I've gotten, especially from parents, is I had no idea that my teen or that my adolescent or that my child was starting to use substances. And why wasn't I told about this? Or why did they not feel like they could come and talk to me? See, that's the thing, is that when these behaviors change, this is a form of acting out. They're saying with their behaviors what they can't say with their words. So we're going to look at 5 different behaviors that adolescents exhibit when they're struggling with substance use disorder. Behavior number 1 is a sudden change in friend groups. If your child, adolescent, brother, sister, loved one, whoever, experiences a sudden change in who they're hanging out with, and you start to notice that the type of personality of the person that they're hanging out with is completely different than the friends that they all had growing up, this could be an indication that they're starting to engage in different behaviors than their former friend group. See, social validation is extremely important for teenagers and adolescents, and they look for people who exhibit the same behaviors and have the same morals and beliefs as they do. So I've heard it said, show me your friends and I can tell you about yourself. This is a very similar situation where your friends and your loved one could be exhibiting the same behaviors. Number 2, a decline in academic performance. So let's say that your loved one was a straight A student, A and B student, an honor roll student, and overnight they've started to make worse grades, started to make C's, D's, and even F's. This can be an indication that the brain power that they were once putting towards school, they're now putting towards something else, or that they're experiencing some sort of cognitive decline based upon some outward substance that they're putting into their body. Their brain power and their output isn't quite what it's used to be, and that's kind of the point, because they're trying to change their emotions, but they're also changing their intellect as well when they put those into your body, because you're not using the same parts of your brain. You're not using your full potential in this situation. Behavior number 3 is secretive or deceptive behavior. It's perfectly natural for adolescents to not want to tell you absolutely everything, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has certain things that they want to keep to themselves or to 1 or 2 or other close friends. It's not natural for a parent and an adolescent to share absolutely everything. There's some codependency in there. But it's also not natural for a parent and an adolescent to share nothing with one another. There should be a healthy balance in that. And when that changes to they're isolated, they're always in their room, they won't talk to me about anything, they won't tell me about their day. We used to go out to dinner and we'd talk about our day. We used to have dinner together and we'd talk about how they were feeling and stuff. When those things start to change and they start to hold all of those emotions inside themselves, that's when there could potentially be a problem. Also, deceptive behaviors. Them starting to sneak things to their rooms constantly, or them starting to sneak out of the house, or them starting to act like a person you don't really know and you don't really recognize. And it's extremely difficult to figure out if that's just them growing up or if it's something more severe. Trust your gut. You know your loved one probably better than most people do. And if you think something's secretive or deceptive, it probably is. So number 4 is changes in mood, thinking, and behavior. Now, obviously in adolescence, you're going through a lot of brain development. Changes are gonna happen, and you're gonna have changes in your mood, in your thinking, and your behavior. But substances affect the brain in different ways. Opioids can give people a lot of energy or make them extremely sleepy. Stimulants can cause them to want to stay up all night. Alcohol is going to be slurred speech, a reduction in inhibitions, and benzos is going to be a lot of the same as alcohol in slurred speech and a lot less anxiety and things of that nature. When you start seeing behaviors that are congruent with intoxication from these substances, it probably isn't just normal brain development. don't be afraid to have an open conversation with your loved one. I love you and I care about you regardless of what's going on in your life. I want to be there for you. I want to be a safe place for you. Talk to me about what's going on with you. You can come to me at any point in time and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. Number 5 is a neglect of their personal appearance and personal hygiene. If you're adolescent or if your loved one was someone who would always go to school or go out and they were dressed to the nine, dressed to impress, always had their uniform pressed, always had the clothes on that they wanted everybody else to see, always was always asking you for different types of things to wear, was always asking you for shopping trips, and then it just kind of changes overnight to they don't want to shower for 2 or 3 days on end. They don't wash their hair. They don't wear the clothes that they used to wear. And what we're looking for is not someone that likes to wear sweatpants and a sweatsuit and flip-flops. That's okay. What we're looking for is a sudden change in these types of displays, a sudden change in their personal hygiene, a sudden change in appearance. Any sudden type of changes can potentially be red flags for substance use disorder, especially if someone has gotten clean and sober and is in recovery and then has a relapse. Look for things and look for people to get off of their routines if they relapse. Not everyone that enters recovery does relapse, but it does happen from time to time. So these are 5 potential things that you can look for to help keep your loved one on the road to recovery.